So Andrew, what is your expected salary? That's a very good question. A common question you'll be asked, so be prepared. It's no joke. When you start stuttering or when you become blank, I don't see you're gonna see a professional image there anymore. So guys, what I've done in this video is to make it easier, I've broken it into two sections. So, little to no experience and graduates, and experienced professionals. When you just graduated or you have very limited experience, it can be very difficult to negotiate the salary at this point. Though it does not mean you shouldn't have a structure in your response and try to aim high. Now I need to remind you that it will depend also on your job and the nature of the role. Is it a low-skilled job or a high-skilled job? Because this will be able to tell you off the bat if you are able to even consider a negotiation when you are inexperienced. High-skilled jobs are well sought after and have a greater chance of asking than a low-skilled job. So here are the definitions below. High-skilled job. You need to equip yourself with education and have a certain skill which enables you to complete the job. This is both technical and knowledgeable. In a low-skilled job, on the other hand, you do not require an extensive amount of education or technical skills to get the job done. Most of the time it's either labor or it's just repetitive work. That aside guys, there are a few tips that I can share with you today to help you implement and structure your response. First, we're going to start off with preparation. Yes, being prepared is key to success in anything you do, so we want you to identify the following as part of the component. We want you to identify market price. Now, what is the current and average pay for the job you're applying? You can use resources such as Indeed, Seek is Australia's biggest one, Glassdoor, and they can pretty much give you an idea of what would be the average pay per job. You can leverage off recruitment agencies. Now, understanding the job market on an overall demand. So if the job is on a high demand, then usually there'll be a high intake of applicants. And if the job supply is low, you then have a chance, or a high chance I should say, with an open discussion for salary. Your values will be very important here. It's important to understand and know what you can offer to an employer. Now, have you learned any additional skills or softwares, maybe knowledge that you can bring to the table? Because you can't really just consider negotiating if you don't know what you can say or what you can do to give an extra added value to the position and to the company itself. Once you have equipped yourself with knowledge, then you would be seen as a very great candidate. And even though you've been asked all these questions and you openly tell them, the great thing about it is even if they want to hire you and the budget is a problem, they'll do whatever it takes to get you on board. Guys, my suggestion has always been the same to all my clients and anybody I meet in life. And if you don't have experience, it's better to take that job, and I suggest to take any job that you can because it gives you experience. And there's a saying, once you're employed, it's easier to advance and get another job, if that makes sense. Once you're unemployed, it's a bit difficult. So there are a lot of things that you need to do, and they ask you these questions and it puts you in a little bit of a pickle. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to discussing about experienced professionals. So why do they ask you this question? Let's understand it in the employer's perspective. It's a way of filtering candidates. In my experience, it has enabled me and a lot of recruiters to see through candidates that actually have real value to offer. We also know that companies have a budget, so sometimes it'll be pretty difficult to employ someone that have a skill that we need, but they are, of a higher proposition. Another point why they ask you this question is because companies want to have the standing point to negotiate. So if they find a quality candidate and they were able to ask the question first, it puts them in a far greater position to negotiate less or more and take the lead, if that makes sense. Let's take a look at how we can respond to these questions. We've broken it down to 4 techniques that you can use: direct, indirect, open, and closed. Now, what does it mean to have a direct response? Quite simple. Now, you apply for a job with relevance to a job that you're currently doing, and that you so straight and direct to tell them that this is what I'm on in my current job. For example, I'm currently on $50,000 per year, and I'd like no less or more. What's indirect response, on the other hand? It's to provide them with a range, perhaps indicating that you've researched the market, price on the job, and it's typically paying you between 48 and 55 per year. So what does it look like on the open approach? You're willing to share how much you want to be based on in terms of your salary, given that the information on during the interview is suffice for you to make a decision. But also at the same time, you're likely to be more flexible because you just prefer to see the opportunity. How about closed? This is where you prefer not to give any answers at this point due to not knowing the job thoroughly enough to provide an informed decision. And perhaps what you want to do is you like to ask them in return what is their budget, and you'd like to push this question to last. You like to delay it to the end. So there are the 4 techniques, guys. You can use whichever technique you feel comfortable with, but though it doesn't mean that you can't implement all in one. A good way of determining your worth is to see what the market price is, and you can use Seek as an example to work out what is the average many companies pay. Recruitment agencies, again, is also another benefit to you because they tend to represent a lot of companies and employees out there, so they do have a deep level of understanding what the pay grade and the pay rate will be. Government Australia Fair Work Ombudsman Awards Agreement can also tell you what is the minimum or the benchmark pay as per job. Another method that you can approach this if you're wanting to negotiate is to offer a realistic figure based on how much value you can provide back to the company. There's a common belief in the industry, you are going to be paid based on the potential earnings you can bring to the company, and that's calculated at some ridiculous amount like 3 to 6 times of your annual salary. So let's give you an example. So if we're going to go based on an open technique, Andrew, what is your expected salary? I'm glad you asked. I've been challenging myself to grow 2x every year. I'm very open and flexible based on the current project and targeted earnings. Before I answer this question, was there any other questions you would like to ask? Or could I ask you more about the project itself before I can give you my informed decision? Because I'd be happy to leave this question towards the end. Now guys, as you can see, we didn't give them a lot of information and we were able to delay it with even an open approach. Now you have the interviewer asking all the questions, and by the end of the question, what you can do is start asking the questions about the project and then dig out slowly what is their expected budget. And using the rule of thumb, the 3 to 6 times your salary, you can then offer them a feasible amount that should be realistic and susceptible for most companies. Now guys, I hope this has been very helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to extend this topic and give you more examples of how you can tackle these questions. But don't forget to do me a big favor, which is to like, subscribe, and share our content because it will help us to create more videos. And I'll see you next time.